Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is October the 2nd, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar, and 5783 on the ancient Jewish calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign living ancient, Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan Consular Court action. We are the sovereign living justice in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. I am sovereign living justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. Both are in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient, Empire State for Morocco, the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government, ancient Washington, District 4, Columbia, the Universal Moorish American Consulate, and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are executing the law by our sovereign capacity, which is the original indigenous natural divine, sovereign ancient Article 3 living United States District 4 Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciaries, receivers, secured creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, claimants, and beneficiaries in this cause for action. We are peace, we are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension, issue a state and federal creditors' bill for possession against all judgment debtors, and exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, non pro tunc. Now and forever, the mother nation reigns. We are the mother nation, Islam. So the first thing on our agenda is we want to first discuss the Mercedes demonstration. As you know, we had done a Mercedes demonstration where we sent in all of the paperwork for the demonstration for a Land Rover, Range Rover conveyance. And our objective in the demonstration was to affirm the validity of our documents. So the conveyance was not delivered. However, that is not our main concern. Our main concern is that we go back and fine-tune the process, put everything in order from start to finish, provide the tracking number, and these are just some things that all of us can do when we do a demonstration and we don't get the result that we were looking for. We go back and we fine-tune. A couple of things that the ancestors said, and they've been saying this all along, is one of the things that we can start looking at, and we've been looking at it as well, is ensuring that the numbers that we put on our liens show in the system, and then the system also connects that to the purchases, to the exchanges. So we are going to go back and look at the demonstration and put everything in order. We're going to make sure that the tracking numbers are in place, which we know that they are. Be sure that the lien was sent to all the places and for proper notification. Be sure that the fiduciary document goes with each of the liens. Be sure that all involved are liened. Be sure that all documents are together and deliver them together for each notification. Make sure that nationality documents and state documents are sent. Craft a UCC, and this is a new something that kind of came to the forefront with regard to the demonstration, because I was looking over it and saying, okay, where can we improve this demonstration? I'm going to, now we've sent our UCC lien affidavits, okay, because we speak by affidavit. our state now needs to have a UCC form to go with our affidavits so that we can activate the system, because before we're not filling out any of their forms. We're filling out our own forms. And the reason for that is prior to that, to us doing these liens, there was a corporate covering over the system, and that corporate covering would have hypothecated the documents, any forms or anything like that. So what we're going to do is continue along the same lines of getting our state ready to do all that needs to be done with regard to these processes so that we don't have any third-party interlopers in our process. So we're going to craft the UCC format, and I won't call it a form, but it's a format. It's going to resemble the UCC form, and you may have seen these before, but I'll show it here on the screen. It's going to look similar to this, and I'm not really 100% certain that this is going to be. I'm just thinking it through at this point, simply because in our state, we have to rebut everything that they've put out there. Now, as a rebuttal, our affidavits clearly rebut everything that they've been doing. But then we also have to have it so that the citizens coming into our state have some remedy also, okay? So, or not the citizens, but the subjects. And we know that subjects cannot own anything, so our courts, you know, when Moors come into our courts and when their subjects come into our courts, they do need to have some remedy for whatever it is that's going on, particularly where they're freeing themselves from foreign occupation as well. And so that would be the reason for crafting a form like this, not using this one, but crafting one of our own for our state. So that's another something that I'm looking at going to add to this process. But you know, we're wanting to check all the boxes and make sure that everything that we did is proper. And we're pretty sure, in fact, I'm very sure that up to now the things that we've done have been proper and in order. But we're going to go ahead and fine-tune and add a few little more steps to it, a few more check boxes to it, just to be sure. And here's the thing: we know who we are. We know that the property is ours. We also know who they are, and we've already properly identified the parties. And that's why we don't get any rebuttals to our paper, to our documentation. There's no rebuttal. There's no one calling policy enforcers or anything like that. And in fact, I added one other document to the demonstration and took it there the day before delivery was set. Delivery was set for Saturday, so on Friday, I took a delivery receipt to the dealership, and in taking this delivery receipt to the dealership, I just looked around and kind of noticed some things, and they had put and they probably had it up there all along. I just didn't notice it, but it's neither here nor there. Just a huge banner of Amity and Commerce there. And also, everything looked a lot busier this time when I went in. They had put some new conveyances on the lot, some that I had not seen previously, and they were of the higher end finally, because before they had a lot of the small hybrid conveyances on the lot, and it looks like they put some bigger ones up there, some more luxurious ones up there. You know, just some things that I noticed. And so we went in. And we did what we normally do, postmaster duties. We put the delivery receipt on the counter. for the former custodian previously doing business as clerk to receive, and they were received. And then we left. No rebuttals, no one complaining, no one saying anything. So we know that what we're doing is correct. We know that it's proper. We just know that there are other parts of our process that we are putting in place, and we're okay with that. We're okay with that. Demonstrations go the way they go, and then we just keep going with them, just the same way that we've done our other demonstrations. When we did our POW demonstration in 2017, it was longer. It was 25 days. And then when we did the POW demonstration in 2021, it was much shorter, and we got it right that time and accomplished exactly what we set out to accomplish. And we accomplished it both times. But in 2021, we abolished any presumption of jurisdiction. We abolished it completely. And we actually can look, and we showed a little bit of proof of that on our last call when we showed what was showing online, even for their corpse, because their corpse is not us. But when we do the right thing, even the things for their corpse go away. So we're going to keep moving forward as always, and keep perfecting what we're doing. So that's the status. I wanted to update you on that. And a lot has changed since we first started demonstrating. We know how to demonstrate competently now, where it does not cause chaos either for us or for the subjects. And then we just keep going. Okay. So with that being said, I wanted to bring up something that the ancestors had shown me previously, but I wanted to make it clear that as we're doing our demonstrations, that we know that we don't have to bear weapons. We don't have to, and I know we know that, but we just want to make it clear to any newmores who are coming, who may not know, who may feel like, they may need to bear arms. The right to bear arms does not mean what we've been told it means. It doesn't mean weapons like guns and things like that. It doesn't mean that. It does not mean that. Let's prove that it does not mean that. So the true meaning of the right to bear arms is ius imaginis. Ius imaginis. And let me make this a little bit bigger on the screen just to be sure that, just a moment. I want to make this as clear as possible because this is important. I knew this in my spirit because I knew that the foreigners, kept making a big deal about the Second Amendment, and the right to bear arms and this, that, and the third. And they're talking about it from a perspective, I know it's an incompetent perspective. I just know in my spirit it is. I knew when they kept talking about the Second Amendment being armed, the right to bear arms and all of that, what that means. Ius imaginis, in Roman law, it is the right to use or display pictures or statutes, and I think that they meant statues, of ancestors, somewhat analogous to the right in English law to bear a coat of arms. And as you know, the right to bear arms, the real fight, when we were in our sleep, the real fight was the fiat. So what did they do? They were bearing arms with each and every piece of fiat that bore the image of a foreign modern European on it. That was the arms that they were bearing, and they knew that. They knew it. I knew it in my spirit, but then when I was researching some terms, in the last few study sessions, I found this, and I knew that that's what that meant. Anything that they talk about repeatedly, if they put it on the news and they're always talking about the right to bear arms and they're showing guns everywhere, that then you know that that's not what it means. That's a distraction, and that's something to get people caught up in something they don't need to get caught up in. Because we already know that our pens are mightier than any sword that's out there. And so when you look up IUS, imaginist, or image, inist, that's really what it's saying, the image. We're not even in the image of our ancestors. We are our ancestors' return. An image is something that looks like it but is not it. Okay? We are our ancestors' returned because we have the same blood running through our veins that they did. Our bloodline never stopped. It was never broken because our mothers kept passing that bloodline on. The same bloodline that their mother gave them, our mother gave us. And we have given it to our heirs, and they're giving it to their heirs. So the bloodline does not change with the matriarchs, where bloodline goes. So the money, the fiat, rather. And that's why when now that we have our own money, peace is coming. And peace is already here because we are peace. But as long as their military script was flying around, then war, that's war. It's war. It's war all day on our, right here, it was war. And it's not war now. This is ancient Morocco. This is not the United States Corporation Company, the dead one. So those who want to do a little bit more study on the right to bear arms. So now that brings me to our money, and now you know why the money always had images on it. It has faces on it, because throughout the ages, ancient Roman coins, you will find our faces on ancient Roman coins. You'll find our faces on ancient Islamic coins. You'll find our faces on, ancient indigenous coins and ancient indigenous money, because we knew that we had the right to bear our arms. Arms is an ancient statue or picture or likeness of our ancestors. That's the real arms. That's bearing arms. And this term right here, ius imaginis, is a legal term. It's a legal term for that. And so, we're going to keep that in mind. Our Delarium does that. It bears pictures of our ancestors and those who are living. And that is why, and we knew in our spirit again that was important, that we have it bear the true images of our ancestors and Moors. It has to be Moors on our money, because that's bearing arms. So every time the fiat was previously being passed around, that was us warring against ourselves. That's why that was one of the first things that the ancestors kind of gave us, where we felt like we need to move away from that. We definitely need to move away from that. So, yes, our liens are arms. All of our documents, our paperwork is arms, because it bears images, signs, and sigils that are of our ancestors on it. Our flag is a sign and a sigil and an arm. Okay? Anybody needing guns and things is probably because their pen is really weak. If you feel like you need to to have a gun, if you feel like you need to have one to enforce the law, then your pen needs some more assistance. You need some more study, because we don't need guns. We don't need weapons. Okay. That's why that's why the Second Amendment says the right to bear arms instead of saying the right to bear weapons. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're not carnal. Yes, arms are the weapons of a warrior, and our weapon is the pen. Our weapon is the word. It's the pen, it's our mouths, and it's our actions. So no, we don't need guns. Our prophet Noble Ali said, don't even carry a pocket knife, because he knew that, yes, guns have to yield to our pen. That's why we're all still standing here rather. And yes, it is actually against our customs and usage to have guns for war purposes. Okay, now hunting and recreation and enjoyment is something different. We can have guns for that. But for war purposes, we don't need them. We don't need them. And I'm living proof of that. We don't need them. Everyone is subject. And we're just passing the documentation, period. We're living proof that we don't need a gun, and that all the guns had to back up, stop coming to the door, stop proceeding because of the word. So, that's the word. That's something that our ancestors put in place a long time ago. That's why they have the great law of peace. The great law of peace is something our ancestors put in place. So no, we don't need guns for anything. We don't need that. We need some highly accurate pens, and we have those, and we're going to continue to exercise those rights. So with that being said, strengthen your pen. Strengthen your pen. Remove that war energy and strengthen your pen, period. Remove the war energy and strengthen your pen. And again, when the Constitution talks about arms, it's talking about just what we put on the screen, ius imaginis. That means put their images up. And when you put their images up and remove those foreign hybrid images, then you are well armed. You're well armed. So that's what they meant when they put the Constitution in place. We're not going to accept the interpretation of foreigners who want you to pick up a gun, because the Constitution doesn't mention the word gun not one time. It doesn't even mention the word weapon. Not once. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why the words are chosen the way that they're chosen, because our ancestors chose those words. So be not deceived and get rid of the energy. It's out of here. We don't have war energy. We don't need guns. We're good. With that being said, we have to know what our ancestors meant when they wrote what they wrote. We have to know what they meant. We don't have to listen to incompetent foreigners about that, because they want you to pick up a gun and go to war, because that's what they do. We assign that to them, to go to war against anybody who's attempting to usurp the estate. So that's what they do. When people don't speak correctly and they're coming with that war energy, they pull out the guns and they pull out the policy enforcers and pull out all of that. And then people get upset about that, but you can't be mad at that if you're not willing to hear that we don't need guns. If you're still thinking we need guns, then your energy, your pen needs some. Go ahead and do that. And I'm not trying to talk down to anybody, but that war energy, the minute people get slammed on the ground with that war energy, they want to blame the documents. And to me, that can be a little bit frustrating. That it's like, but we've been telling you to stop the war energy. Stop the war energy. And they want to still keep fighting and still keep, trying to go to war with subjects. Subjects. They're subjects. They're subjects. Our ancestors said, bear our images on everything, on your money. Bear our images. That's your weaponry. Bear our images. That's your weaponry. So with that being said, let's move forward. I want to say happy born day to my Empress Raylana. Today is her born day. I'm so happy for her. She is just doing a great job. She helps a lot with the things that we do, our Moorish documents and things like that. And for those who don't want to hear about that the weaponry and the guns and stuff, I can't tell you what to do, but it is very obvious that the war energy needs to be cleared because you keep having problems. You keep running into that wall, and you're mad about running into that wall. To those who want to keep that war energy, you better get rid of it. That's just a suggestion. And thank you to those in the chat who are wishing my Empress a happy born day. So the transfer is happening already. I will say this about this transfer because it's happening in stages and phases. And the stages and phases that it's happening in is that those who were unlawfully occupying, if you look at who's being affected by the things that are going on in terms of, being moved off the land and falling out of love with being here, take a look at that, because we've been looking at the footage from the hurricanes and things like that they've been putting up on the news, and we see that those who were occupying and who did not want to get turn the land loose are being removed, and it's we don't wish ill on anyone who's lawful. We don't wish ill on anyone. What we do state, though, is that the land belongs to the Moors, and the ancestors are keeping their word. The ancestors are keeping their word to move them. Just one moment. Let me clear some things up here. So the events, and again, we don't want to see anyone in distress or anything like that, but we also want the land must be returned back to the rightful heirs. And so the hurricane and tsunami weather, on one hand, it's doing damage, and we send our positive energy to those who've been affected. those events are serving to remove some of that stubbornness from those that refuse to unhinge their feelings of holding on to properties, lands, and commerce that's not theirs. We do not have to fight, heirs. We don't have to fight. We don't have to war. We don't have to war with foreign matter. Our ancestors will do that for us. And it may not always look pretty when they come through, but they will come through and do. And that's why we have to train our eye, our third eye, to see that sometimes when things look like it's not a good thing, like hurricanes and things like that. But if you look at the areas that are being affected, it has a lot to do with, the majority of that is, folks that wanted to sit here for another 150 years and occupy, when that's not what's happening in this era. When we know the history of this land, we also know that when you look back, when it was our time to go on to sleep, the flooding came. And if you look under the lakes, Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, any lakes on this landmass, Lake Mead, you're going to find ancient structures, buildings. You're going to find ancient cities there. When it was our time, that same thing happened previously, supposedly, purportedly. But we can see that as those quote unquote man-made waterways dry up, we can see the ancient cities there. And they always say, oh, this is an ancient Roman city, this is an ancient Greek city. Well, we know that that's us. So now it's the energies have changed in our favor. We are awake. We have done what we needed to do. We've done all that we need to do. We've gone through our sleep time. We're awake and we can see. So we're going to continue doing what we're doing. There's no such thing as going back. And we can look around and see what's happening and know that, those that didn't want to, they didn't really want to leave. But we still don't need guns to make them leave. When we first started putting on the public record some things about how the land is being returned back, there were some who wanted to challenge that, and we know they can't speak directly to us, but they would put on social media, make us leave. You can't make us leave. Well, we don't have to. We don't have to. And so we didn't even respond to that. We just watched the ancestors. And this is the thing, Morris, we don't have to fight, and our ancestors have said this directly to us. If you fight, then they'll step back. And you don't want the ancestors to step back. You want them to be in the forefront of everything. And if we are peaceful and continue to do what we're doing, which we will be, we're going to continue to be that, then they will come through. So what you're seeing when you see things falling apart on that other end, that's the ancestors coming on through and clearing things out and moving things out. People who thought that they were fiat wealthy have absolutely nothing because the quote-unquote stock market crashed and the quote-unquote British pound and is doing things, dropping, and fiat is falling all over the place in their world, in their theater. We don't have to fight with anyone. We don't have to fuss and argue. We don't have to have war energy at all. Just let the ancestors do it. And when the ancestors do it, we don't have to worry about being slammed. We don't have to worry about going to jail, unnecessarily and all of that. For some of us, I know for me, that was a demonstration that I called forth. I called my POW demonstrations forth by the question that I asked the ancestors at the beginning when I first spoke up. I asked them, how do we get past that? Because that was scary to me. How do we get past, fake policy enforcers, fake judges, the fear of all of that, And they said, don't worry, you're going to demonstrate how you get past your fear. And here we are. Here we are, So let's just keep going. We know that now, from our perspective, it's just a matter of perfecting the processes, just perfecting them, and then continuing to move forward. And over the next 30, 60, and 90 days, you're going to see major movement where we're all concerned. So all we have to do is continue demonstrating, putting forth our documentation. We don't need to worry about those who were occupying. We don't need to worry about them. We need to just continue, and it's not a need because we have no need, no want. We are complete. But let's just keep moving forward and keep our attention and our energy focused on building our nation and peacefully demonstrating who we are. So with that being said, I'll also state that I saw something that I thought, let me just talk about this briefly. I saw this advertisement. It says the future is alternative protein, with food security more pressing an issue than ever. Blah, 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 shares how the world's nutritional needs may be met with alternative protein. Well, and this is my response to any of this kind of foolishness. And, we're not mad at anyone, but for us, we can almost just delete anything they're saying. Anyone telling you that you're going to starve on this land where fruit trees and vine foods grow naturally, and where the sea has plenty of fish, and where the land has little victuals running around on the land that you have dominion over for those who partake of some, animals. Whoever says you're going to starve is either ignorant, incompetent, a predator, a liar, or all of the above. We have absolutely nothing to worry about on this land where you can walk out your door and go find the nearest fruit tree or vine tree or grow fruits and vines or go to the sea and catch some fish. No one's going to starve. No one. So there need not be any rush in our demonstrations and things that we're doing. Let's just keep moving forward. And then as long as we want, or as long as we command grocery stores and things like that to be here, they'll be here. As long as we command them to. One thing I know about us, and this is the big secret. This is the big, gigantic secret. One thing I know about us and about this system that we designed is that this system never ends. It never ends. There is no end of the earth. The earth will always be here. The system will always be here. It will always work for us. It will always work in our favor, period. So, all of that fear-mongering about, quote-unquote stock markets dropping and recession and depression and all of that, please turn that off, tune it out, throw it away. It has nothing to do with us. The system is going to continue to work for us. It's just saying, okay, we're here. We're just waiting on you to, do this process where you unlock this door, that when you open this door, no man can shut it, and the doors that you shut, no man can open. That's where we are right now. We have absolutely nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Us unifying, that's our focus. It's us continuing to unify, us continuing to work together. If you're feeling any type of stress about food or anything like that, let it go. Find as many ways as possible to let that go. Find as many ways as you can to let it go, because it's simply a matter of what you hear and how you process what you hear and what you see. In terms of, if we all turned off the quote-unquote news and we shut off all of that noise, we wouldn't even know that there was anything about a quote-unquote recession, a quote-unquote depression, or a quote-unquote stock market falling. We wouldn't know anything about it. We wouldn't know anything about a fake president. We wouldn't know anything about fake Congress, a fake court. We wouldn't know anything about any of that. We wouldn't. And we wouldn't be stressed about it either. And most of us are not. This is just for those who may be feeling like, oh, what are we going to do? People are starving. La, 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 la. Just hold on a minute. Just hold on a minute. Hold on. Just first save yourself. Make sure that you that you have what you need first. And then you can share what you need, because what you need is going to be multiplied exponentially anyway. Okay? So, no need to stress, no need to worry. Demonstrations make us. They don't break us. They make us. They make us better, faster, stronger, and that's at our own doing. So we have absolutely nothing to worry about. Know that as we continue in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes, that all is in our favor. All is in our favor, and we have absolutely nothing against us. Nothing against us. Nothing. Nothing and no one is against us. We're too powerful for that. We had this wrapped up before we even knew we had it wrapped up, remembered that we had it wrapped up.
Islam,
Empress.
My consort and I was watching this show called Black Earth Rising on Netflix, and this show is preceding this other show on Netflix called Something Justice. I mentioned that sometime before, but we was listening to the word. I was my second time watching it, but my consort, he tuned in when they had mentioned this article, the Roman statute, and how it was in conversation with two different nations. Well, they're all fictitious. We all know this, but the fictitious U.S. and the fictitious England, I think, or France, one of the two. So the fictitious United States representative mentioned that she never ratified the Roman statute. So, yes, the corporate United States never ratified the Roman statute. So we went and we started researching, and I said, oh, gosh, this is a real thing. So I sent you screenshots, and it says, According to the Roman statute, it is a duty of every state to exercise its criminal jurisdiction over those responsible for international crimes. The ICC can only intervene where a state is unable or unwilling genuinely to carry out the investigation and prosecute the predators, right? And then it says, who?
By ICC, she means International Criminal Court.
Yes, that's it. And it says, who has not signed the Roman statute? And it says, the U.S. is not a state party to the Roman statute. The U.S. participated in the negotiations that led to the creation of the court. However, in 1998, the U.S. was one of only 7 countries, along with China, Iraq, Israel, Libya, Qatar, and Yemen, that voted against the Roman statute, right? And then it also says incompatibility with the U.S. Constitution. United States participation in the ICC treaty regime would also be unconstitutional because it allows trial of U.S. citizens for crimes committed on U.S. soil, which are otherwise entirely within the judicial power of United States. Yes. And so we talked about this, and it mentioned unconstitutional because Article 2, Clause 6, I think it states, Article 6, sorry. Well, yeah, reverse the numbers. You still see me and you understand what I'm saying. That Article 3 Counselor Courts is the Supreme Court. So that's why they never ratified that, and that's why it states it's unconstitutional. So when you really meditate on what this means, we are the Supreme Court. This is why Taj Tariq Bey always stated we have to get back our Article 3 Counselor Court jurisdictional courts. And so that just explains everything. We supersede all of that. And then when you further understand that our ancestors put the language in the treaties, and it protects us. Before we even knew there was going to be an issue, they protected us because of the culture is in the language, and the language is the spells that they've created on paper. And that's why, going back to what you stated earlier, we don't need a weapon.
Nope.
All we need to do is know what we are doing competently and stand firmly on that, because they couldn't do that. Go against the treaty because they didn't even sign it. They participated in creating a document just to turn around and say, we know we can't autograph that because it's against our Constitution. They did that, like I said, in 1998. They knew then that they couldn't go against the Constitution.
Yeah. And, they offered their opinion. That's all they offered was an opinion. And then after that, they can't do anything further because they're not the sovereigns. We are. And that also tells you what you were reading from somewhere. What website was that you were reading the International Criminal Court?
I just Googled it. I sent it to you on WhatsApp.
I saw it. I just didn't know what website it was coming from.
Oh, no, it was no website. I just, the drop-down buttons when you Google search something, that's all I did. I just clicked the drop-down, and it says, why is USA not a member of ICC? And that was all I was reading. There is a website, though. It's https://en.m.wikipedia.org, and then it says the United States and International Criminal Court. That was what it was in Wikipedia.
Well, and that also tells you, and we have stated this previously, that the International Criminal Court, and quote unquote, and the International Court of Justice, quote unquote, we supersede them.
We do.
We are the highest court at earth. At earth. At earth. We are the highest court at earth.
They know this.
The Moors, all Moors. The highest court at earth. And, that is another reason why the processes are so important. Because everything that we do is a court action. And we have to, because of the type of court that we are, and that we supersede all other courts, the processes that we do need to be just and lawful processes. And that's why, for example, with the conveyances, we know that they can't rebut anything we say, but we also know that our processes have to be what they should be. And we're not trying to get things just because we're so powerful. All we're doing is saying we know this process. And how long do we think it's going to take? Not long. Not long. And we also know that our ancestors worked by giving us things line upon line and precept upon precept. They give us here a little bit, and then they give us there a little bit. And we put them together and we demonstrate them. And by the way, that is part of scriptura in the ancient Biblios Heliotext, where it says that knowledge is imparted line upon line and precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. And if you want to find out where that is, just Google scripture that says line upon line and precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. So, our processes do need to be flawless, and we're aware of that. And we told the custodians and the subjects, we said, look, when we come correct, Islam, thank you, Empress. It's unlocked. We told the custodians, we said, look, anybody that doesn't come correctly, even if it's us, just don't give custody of the stuff to them. They have to have the right nationality. They have to have the right process. And for us, we had to have the right economic system. Because no one has access to the estate except those who are rightfully heirs to it.
Islam.
Islam.
Something clicking in my spirit, and I researched. Did you see what the quote unquote new money looks like from the UK? The polymer money that's been issuing. Well, I did, and it's very similar to what the old one was, except it has gold on the front side, and it's very 3D as far as like the symbols and things, but the number sequence that it starts off with, take one guess. The alphanumerical sequence.
Say that again, Empress.
I said the alphanumerical sequence that starts for their code on their money. It starts. Guess what it starts with?
AA, probably.
Exactly. It is AA.
Yeah.
I was like, what? That's interesting.
Because that's them giving their opinion of this is where the serial numbers for the new money should start. And we are aware of that. We know that. From we appreciate their opinion. We do. We appreciate their opinion. We showed that. Actually, there's a video that we did probably 2 years ago showing yuan and other fiat that started with AA, but it was not in the right color ink. They had some black ink, and then they had some in red ink. and black signatures and so on and so forth. So we knew that those were fiat instruments. So, you know, we're here for the long haul. We're here for eternity. We're here for beyond eternity. We're here for beyond perpetuity. You know, so we're just going to keep moving forward and keep perfecting the things that we do. You know, it took us a little while to perfect the lien process, but now it's perfected. Islam Empress.
Speaking about perfecting, because I've gotten further along on the receipt process as far as creating on spreadsheets, and so because I was looking at yours and you have numbers pertaining to the creditor and the receipt number, and it's like high in the 3,000 and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to I did contact you, but I know you were probably busy. And so I was like, we are the first creditors in this process of launching back our nation. So mm-hmm. I put AA, and then I added zeros, and then I put 01, because for this process, there's no other creditor, you know, that's prior to me that I'm aware of in this providence anyway. And so that's what I had did. I put the AA and then 0000001 as the creditor, and then the same for the receipt, because or something similar to that for the receipt number, because like I had stated previously. So so yeah, that's what I wanted to, you know, put out there, and you know, yeah.
So our ancestors, all of the things that we're doing, they've already done them. So, you know, any Moors that want to say that they're first is fine. We can all be first because we are. So it's, yeah, however you want to do that, Empress, any Moors, however any of us feel led to do our demonstrations, do them. You know, sometimes Moors send me questions, and you know, the questions are, can we do this and can we do that? And I'm thinking, you're sovereign. You're sovereign. You're sovereign. You know. So just one moment. Some people would actually think that foreign matter had a point, but they don't. So just one moment. Okay. So, yeah, however you want to do your demonstrations, more, however you're led to do them, because that's what we've been doing, is letting the ancestral energies lead us through the demonstrations, and they give us information, and this is how the demonstrations have been working thus far. The demonstrations, they will give us a piece, like they gave us the lien process back in 2017, 2018. Well, the lien process is an awesome process.
Is that why all your demonstrations have failed, Pauline?
There are other processes.
Your First Avenue failed way back a year ago, and you're.
And so what we do is the ancestors will give us a piece of the process, a part of the process, part and parcel, and then we do it, and they say, okay, that's good. Now add this to it. And we have to think while we're doing this. We have to look back, and we don't have
Not
to.
Not one person has bought anything with Delarium. Nobody has got a.
So what we do is the ancestors give us one part of the demonstration. And then they say, okay, demonstrate that. Okay, we do it, we demonstrate it. And then they say, okay, let's give them another part. Let's give them another part. What we do is we think about even when the foreign modern Europeans came here and how long it took them to do the things that they did. How long did it take them? Hundreds of years to do the things that we saw previously. And how long has it taken us to dismantle all of that? It has taken us 4 or 5 years to dismantle the whole thing. So, when I think back of like all that they did and all that they were willing to go through just to pretend to take hold of our estate, because they never really took hold of it. That was acting. They did a lot. So yeah, we have work to do, but we knew that, and we're okay with that. We're built for we are created for that, for whatever we have to do, and we know that we can look at that fake fraudulent system and see that it's no longer a thing. And yes, they are panicking over there. And that's the reason why we started this Congressional Assembly, stating that we don't really even have to listen to all of that panic. Because if you really, really look at where you are right now and see just the following things. Have you eaten in the last 24 hours? And those who haven't, was it willingly that you didn't eat? Some of us fast and things like that. None of us are starving, and no one else out there is going to starve either. No one's going to starve while we continue this transition. We're all going to be okay, and we're going to help one another through it. And we see right now that, again, it's about the processes. It's about our processes. So, okay. Islam. It's unlocked, Empress. With that being said, speaking of government and governments doing things and how things were going back in the day, I came across a video that showed the commerce that the foreign state acted out, where they had state brand butter and milk and cheese and all of that. In other words, this is an example for us to look at and see how we do things and how to move forward. It took them a while now to go from 1871 to 1913 to 1933. It took them a while to go from that. And in the 1800s, 1871 on forward, was when they began to try to move into buildings and things like that. And it was not working out for them. So they had to, quote unquote, get their own economic quote unquote system. So all they did was look at what we did, subrogate it, and then 1913 happened. And then they started moving in, and don't believe the stuff they say about how they built this and built that. When they talk about the word built, that just means all they did was occupy, clean it up a little bit and occupy it, because the buildings were already here. We were already here. We have photos of that. Everyone knows that. And so the history that we have been told has not been a correct and true history, and that's why there's some having a problem with the true history being told. You know, meanwhile others are telling the truth about a history that never happened, some stuff that never happened. So they had to learn to hypothecate and copy the processes the same way that we are having to remember our processes. And, you know, I'm sure there was probably one or two of us back then interrupting their processes and saying, oh, I see y'all haven't gotten in that building yet. You know, because some of us might have done that back then, might have been the ones interrupting their meetings saying the same things that we hear sometimes. And that's okay. It's taken us 4 years to get to this point, and things are moving much quicker nowadays. So are there any questions or comments about any of the things that we have stated thus far? We see where we have to go. We see what we need to do. Now, I will say that with regard to the buildings, any of the buildings that we have demonstrated thus far, there's two other things that the ancestors have said to add to the process. What we did first was, of course, all of our 6 documents, the 6 documents that we have done. And then
Pauline, you were so fucking full of shit.
With
You're
those
fucking full of shit, Pauline. None of it works. None of your...
Those 6 documents, some of the things that the ancestors have said to add to the building process. One of them is to do a quit claim deed receipt. We already have title, and we did a video on that building where we did the title, we did the, what else? We placed a lien on any corpses and corporates. We evicted the occupiers, and they did leave. They had to leave because they had to. So we know that the building is so that we know that we perfected that part of our demonstration of evicting occupiers who are unlawfully occupying out. By the time we finished our 10-day demonstration, they were out of the building, completely out. Then what happened is the building, the quote-unquote City of Federal Way, whom we leaned, started demonstrating the process of us taking the building. So all that they have been doing is modeling some things for us. So the ancestors said that another thing that we need to do is issue a quit claim deed receipt, and we're going to do that in the coming days and weeks, where those who were previously claiming the building Because, see, right now there's a break in their process, not our process, their process, where the ones that we evicted out of there, we looked in the fake records and the corporate hypothecated records, and we see that they have changed some of the paperwork. They are still evicted out of there, and they're not coming back in there, and that's clear. So what we need to do is issue the final documents. One of them is a quitclaim deed receipt. The other document, we're going to hold off on stating what that document is until after we issue it, because that one last document that we issue, that document makes it so that any properties, it doesn't matter what the property is, once we've done the things that the ancestors led us to do up to now, which is lien the property and do do a lien, create the title, lien tax assessors and all of that, and some of the other documentation that we put in the video, and we'll have to go back and look at the video. But all we're doing now is perfecting everything that we need to perfect. That's all we're doing right now, is perfecting our processes. And then that last document that we're going to issue will be a document that we'll talk about in the coming days and weeks. I don't want to say anything about the document right now until the document is issued, because all that we do, we issue everything that we issue as the state or the city, because we are Federal Way. We're the real Federal Way. We're not the City of Federal Way Corporation. And we have made that clear on the public record, and it's been acknowledged on the public record. So we're going to do a quitclaim deed receipt showing that those that we evicted out of there have quitclaimed the property, and we're creating citizens and corporations there as well. So we're not using any of their documentation to do it. We're using our documentation to do it. And in our state, they're going to quitclaim deed the property to us, and we're going to issue a receipt. We already have the signature that we were looking to see. We have it. And then we have one other document that we'll issue, and we'll talk about that document in next week, most likely in one of our upcoming congressional assemblies, because that document is the document that they were using along to get into all the buildings when no one rebutted it. And then so the ancestors are giving us further things to do. And then there are these huge buildings that we know are our buildings that have been vacant for a long time. This quitclaim deed receipt and this other final document will be documents that we use to go ahead and get into those buildings as well. It's been a process, and our ancestors wanted us to do the process properly, to do it from start to finish. The building is going to be conveyed over to us. Also, that's what the quitclaim deed will do, essentially, is convey the building to us. And then we'll issue the final document that we saw needed to be issued. And then we'll enter the building. So, I believe that the most important part of all of these processes our ancestors want us to take our time and just do the processes line upon line, precept upon precept. Let patience be a virtue. You know, this is not, we don't have to rush and do anything. We just have to, all we're doing is claiming what's already ours. Period. So that's where we are with everything that we're doing. We're taking the long, eternal look at everything that we're doing. And we're knowing that the ancestors are taking care of us while we go through this process of bringing our wealth into our trusts and all of that. And it's already there. We just need to acknowledge it with our documentation. Patience is a virtue. Take your time. Walk through each process. Demonstrate the processes, and then see what happens, and then listen for the ancestors to add things to it if the process does not go as you saw it go. Okay? Because what we're rising to is replacing all that we thought we were looking at. That's what we're doing. Any entities that were previously pretending to be the city, the state, and the federal, and the international, and nations and states and all of that, we're standing there. We're already there. It's not even like we have to get there. We're already there. And now we're just being shown. It's kind of like when you first got a job in your sleep. When you first got the job, you just started learning things, and you would try some things, and sometimes on the job you would try something or do something, and they would say, nope, that's not right. You actually have to do it this way. And when we got on those jobs, sometimes we did things right off the bat. And then the higher up we got on the job, the more we knew. And then after a while, they would say, okay, we're gonna have to, this sleeping more has learned everything they're going to need in order to assist them with governing when they wake up. So let's find a way to get rid of them. And that's generally what happened. Either we quit or they found a way to get rid of us because it was time for us to move on and learn another skill set so that we could govern effectively. So all of our skill sets are being brought into what we're doing right now. And I will say this, something that I heard earlier this week in my studies, is that they promote you all the way up to the level of your incompetence. And when we all back in, and this is again when we were in our sleep, we went all the way up to the point where our competence would take us for the most part. And once we got high enough, then it was like, okay, they don't need to know anything higher than this, because if they know anything higher than this, they're getting into Masonic areas that they don't need to get into. So we were left there without knowing, some of us, what that next level was, but then some of us knew what the next level was. And that's how we went up so quickly. Many of you rose up quickly in corporate, quote unquote, in our sleep, in corporate arenas. Every job you got on, you went up so quickly that, Islam. So with that being said, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom, demonstrations that you want to discuss? Anything of that nature?
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
I just got a couple of questions that maybe a couple of statements too here. You may have answered the probably the question about the quit claim.
Mhm.
I think I was on a site or I heard some information about not using the word quit when we're actually claiming. But I think I heard you say that they will quit claim it back to you. In other words, they will quit their claim.
Yes, that is correct.
So yeah, so I thought about that, but I had
we will put the signatures, because again it's our fiduciary duty to ensure that everything is back where it should be on both sides, and so they claim it back to us, and their signature will go on there.
So are we basically quitting a corporate claim? Is that why we're quitting the claim, or?
They're quitting their claim.
Well, I conveyed my property to my trust by a quit claim. You know, I conveyed it with a quit claim. So I was really thinking of a personal thing.
You can do that. You can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. We're having those who were unlawfully claiming and unlawfully occupying, we're removing both their ability to claim or occupy.
Okay.
Because when we were doing the building demonstration initially, we were trying to figure out, and really the ancestors just were saying, just hold off on that for a minute. How we knew we got them out of the building, but we were saying, okay, now how do we get into the building? And the ancestor said, just hold on a minute and we'll show you how to do that over time. And that is exactly what they've done. We know how to get into the building now. We know what document they've been issuing to even get into buildings, and the ancestors made it so clear to me how they've been doing what they've been doing. One final document after all of that hypothecation. One final document, and they were able to get the keys and go in and do what they do or did previously. One document.
Right. It doesn't take much. I mean, you know, after we
identified ourselves properly and put the financials in order with a lien and the title and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Empress, I got one thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if this is in my county recorder of deeds in Tennessee. Probably won't pronounce this right, but it's titulus e justa causa possidendi id quad nostrum e dictor e tuendo, which means the title is the just cause of possessing what is ours to protect. So that's on their mission statement, or their, you know, on the wall of the register of deeds.
Mm-hmm.
So wow. I'm reading this and I'm like, did they really say that? I mean, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, did the ancestors say that? And I'm like, well, no. They're saying that since we didn't have titles, right?
We're the only ones who have them. We're the only ones who have them.
Well, I know, but I mean, before usurpation, in the time of the Great Law of Peace, there were no titles. So the titles were brought on the land for after surveying, in that process is what I'm thinking. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seems like when they're saying that this is a just cause for possessing something that they are protecting, we don't really think like that. I mean, you know, it doesn't seem like that as a construct, something that we would do. We would need to do that if you already own everything. You wouldn't have to. So I think that's something that maybe that they brought up. But I just thought I'd bring that up. I don't know if anybody's seen something like that in their Register of Deeds office, you know.
They got that from us. Can you put it in the chat, Nobility?
Yes, I can put that in the chat.
Yes, Mom. Can you read it again? I want to hear that again, please.
Well, it translates, the title is the just cause of possessing what is ours to protect. I guess that could apply to us. I mean, you know, but it just, for them to have that there in Latin, not in plain English, right? They got it posted on the wall in Latin.
That is actually them admitting to subject status because they don't speak Latin.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they absolutely got that from us, and they just took it and put it in their letters, and that's why we have to take it back by putting it in our letters.
Okay.
They
I'll
don't
put that in.
They speak commercial English.
Islam, and also because mother gives title, so they don't have a mother. The nation Morocco is the mother of all nations. So, like Empress Light just said, that's them stating that they're a subject ipso jure to the natural divine mothers of all nations, and the mother is a title of all titles. So, because mother gives a title to any other, people on the land. So, essentially, that's how I am, perceiving that and, interpreting that, because, yeah.
If you'll notice, they put that on the wall, but they've not issued a single title. They issue deeds. They don't issue titles.
Okay.
They issue deeds, and in some cases, a certificate of title, which is not a title. So to have that on the wall, it doesn't even apply to them at all. At all. But see, most people will look at that and won't know that that doesn't apply to them. They know it, and the 33rd degrees know it. But if you ask them, when was the last time they issued an actual title, they'll say never, and look at you like you're crazy for even asking. They've never issued a title. Never. Corporations cannot govern. They're
Exactly. And the Constitution states that they can't give any title of nobility in that part too. Because the title
and
is
title to land is a title of nobility. Make no mistake about that. Titles to land is a title of nobility.
Wow.
Yeah, that right there is them stating that they are subject ipso jure. Yeah. I mean, did you look around to see what else was like hanging next to that at all? Like any other sigils or like, signs of like our zodiac signs, symbols, anything?
Probably the building they were in.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything right off the bat. That just caught my eye for some reason. I just took a picture of it and went and translated it.
Yeah.
But I will look next time. that very thing.
And that the building that they're in is probably, if it's like it is here, it's in a building that is done in Moorish architecture.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of older building.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, they they don't speak Latin. They speak what they speak, which is actually commercial English. But as I will say this, as we continue to stand, they're peeling back, and we're peeling back. We're really doing it, peeling back the layers, and we're starting to see that everything was ours the whole time anyway, and that they've always been sitting subject But we had to get back in alignment and stop pretending to be citizens. And the more we know, the more we will see ourselves everywhere. You know, nobility, what you're saying there about you notice that your eyes are open. Your eyes are open, and now when you look around, you see what you know to be that which is yours. You know, when we thought we were blacks, we would have looked at that and just, it wouldn't have meant a darn thing to most of us. We just would have thought that was some, you know, think about that, what you would have thought of Latin, seeing Latin up on the wall somewhere. You would have never thought that's ours.
Not at all.
But nothing was really hidden. It was all in plain sight. And that's the point that I'm making about everything that we're doing, is once you have the eyes to see, you will already see that we have no enemies. Everyone is either a subject or a Moor. That they know we own everything and everything is already ours and we're the heirs to everything. They know that already. We have no fight. There's no fight. There's no fight. Our foe is what the prophet said in the Circle 7. That's the only foe. And that is not outside of us. So what we see out there is not the place where you want to pull a gun. Because we don't have, the Circle 7 says who our foe is. Aside from us, you know, what's going on within each one of us, that's where the foe is or was. And I'm going to speak that into the past. Because, you know, we know how to clear energy and clear things up and get it together and come forth and shine and be ourselves, you know. So, it's by way of the documentation and even this that you put in the chat there. The title is The Just Cause. The cause is a court language. That's court action language.
Islam. Why did I just look up what just was in ancient English etymology?
That's court action language right there.
Just in Latin means law, right.
Yes.
R-I-G-H-T. And then when you look up what right means in etymology, it means land and title.
Yep.
So it says title 3 times in that one sentence.
Yes, it
okay. That part.
What was that you looked up? You said it?
Just. I looked up the etymology of the word just.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's been talking about us the whole time, Morse. It's been about us the whole time.
Now I got to analyze. I got to do this over. I got to analyze that phrase again.
We're doing it right now, honey.
Yes.
Islam, I have a question. Islam. So if there are bloodline, just sanguineous heirs to the original contract,
if they're who? They who are just sanguineous heirs.
There are. And there are. That's what I'm saying. There are. To be able to take the land back or revoke that contract, how would that affect everything?
How what?
How would that affect everything?
It's simply a matter of statements and documents, because the land hasn't moved. And we haven't moved. We're still here. We've been here the whole time. Mm-hmm. So all that just means is that we will go in and be in the places that are right, that where government is and where government goes. And everyone will know that and they will behave in a manner, because they already know, but they will behave in a manner that says we're the heirs to all, and we're the government, and we're the law, and those who are not of the bloodline and birthright are subjects. That's what changes, and that change is already happening. It depends on where you are on your timeline, and it just makes it so that when we go to be in a building, or we see building or land or whatever, and we want to use it to further the empire, that everyone moves aside so that we can do that. That's all. And then all of those who were claiming citizens' rights, they don't have citizens' rights, they have subject rights. And the subject's right is to be a subject to the heirs. That's the right that they have. Is to be here on our land and be subject. That's their right.
I'm curious.
Islam.
I have an affidavit.
Just one moment. Let her finish, please.
I have an affidavit of heirship that ties my family back to the Algonquin tribe, Powhatan, and then his 4 children. And I'm
So this is what you need to do, Empress, and this would be my suggestion. My suggestion to you is to recreate that document on Moorish government letterhead. Because, see, as long as whenever they present something, it doesn't really mean anything per se. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't mean anything in terms of throw it away. Please don't do that. Keep it by all means. But you want to pair the true document with it, and that true document can only be produced by you and those of your bloodline and birthright. And when you put both of those together, then you have the books are balanced. Let me put it that way. Where your land is concerned, the books are balanced, and there's no debt on the land. And now because you got the creditor's side there, the instrument that you have is a debtor instrument. It was created by debtors. And so you have to put the creditor instrument so that the people, whoever created that, won't come back and try and tax the land, because that's actually what they've been doing.
I recreated the document already before, and I'm just going to do it again because I did it under Royal Ministry. So I'm going to recreate it and add that. But I did do it under Moorish, right? So I'm going to recreate it again.
Yes, Islam, Empress.
Islam.
And keep going back looking at that process so that you can fine-tune it over time. Because as they recede, because this is really what's happening right now with all of us, with everything, is as we show competence in the different areas, then they recede. They move back, and we are shown other parts to be competent at with regard to the same issues, which is the land, the commerce, the natural resources. They remove their, we actually remove their claims. But one thing that will never happen is the land will never be unclaimed. In our fleet, frauds were claiming it, corpses were claiming it. And the corpses have their instruction. First, corpses go to jail, and then you have subjects and custodians there. And the subjects and custodians are told to remove when we give the command and we give the proper rebuttal, that other stuff is to be out of the way. So continuing to look at the process and put your documents forth, notify all along the way, whether you have a demonstration to do or not, in terms of somebody sending a tax bill for the land, or somebody sending something and trying to claim something, in terms of fraud, corporations. Just keep moving forth with the land. And Empress, it is suggested, and this is how we're moving forth too. It is suggested that you use the power of your state, and that's why Moorish government letterhead is so important. Use the power of the state in order to, because you are a fiduciary for your sovereign state, and that is because states are the only being, the living state is the only being that can have a fake dead person moved out of the way. Because the states, when you study statehood and statements and our estate is set up that way, just like they were pretending to be the United States Corporation Company. They knew that they couldn't do any fraud by being individuals, but they knew if they said, this is the United States government, then it casts a spell a certain way. So bring the power of the state with you.
Islam, gratitude.
You are the state, yes.
Gratitude.
Yes. Our strength is in our numbers. We're doing the same thing. We have 1.6 million acres here that we have on the public record, that we've properly proclaimed and we've properly taken complete control of. And so now what we're doing is, as we move forward to making sure that each document is in alignment with whatever it is that we're doing. If it's a domicile, then making sure the domicile process is correct. If it's a building where we're going to be doing commerce out of it, then making sure that, like we said, quit claim deed and the receipts are issued, and so on and so forth. And that we're subtracting from the liens like we should, and all of that. It's interesting, when I went to the dealership on the Friday to deliver the receipt, I noticed there was an unmarked conveyance there. And I know that they know that the conveyance belongs to us. They know that. All of them do. That's the issue. Every conveyance there, including ones that they're purporting to drive, belong to the Moors, because they're not driving at the United States Corporation Company, because that's not even a street. It's not a road. It's not land. And so we know that they know it's time to do what needs to be done. Our documentation is going to do the rest. We know that. So we're already there. We're already there. And we're there peacefully. That's the part that I'm really proud of, is that, through all of this, yes, we've had our, we've had to do our POW demonstrations and things like that. That's a part of the testing for some of us, for some. But we're there. This is our time. Everything already belongs to us. Everyone's aware of that too. So I'm just glad that the documentation is aligning. It's presenting itself and aligning. For everything, every document that they present, we can present one too. That is actually what the union really was. Islam.
Okay. Rose Spirit Bay, Minnesota Territory. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the deed, because I've had some demonstrations this week. that were this week and last week that were a bit hard, but, you know, we have to, like, it's a process. Like, we're really being sharpened so much. It's a process, you know, to really think beyond some of these subjects are really challenging us to think above the 33rd degree, you know, and that's our ancestors, you know, challenging us as well. So the week before, you know, I don't stay at the domicile of the property that I own, but I still have a unit there. And so the week before I had went there, and then I saw a letter of eviction on my door from what was it? It was a judicial writ of, there was a writ of possession. It was some kind of writ. But, you know, and the thing is, I had, yeah, it was in a writ form, you know. And I was like, you know, the funny thing is they had sent something like about a month before from, you know, these people doing business as attorneys, and I had done the court action before they could even, before the date that they stated. And, you know, in my ear I heard res judicata. So I was like, good. Yeah. And so now, instead of that, they went through the district court and then was able to get, you know, this writ, and then, you know, posted it on my door.
Can you look at the writ and see what kind it is?
You know,
do you mind or no?
Let me look.
If you don't want to, that's
sure. What was
because that stuff can't be
writ of recovery. It was a writ of recovery. Yeah, it was a writ of recovery. That's what they were saying.
Okay.
But you know, I remember you saying, you know, they're recovering their person, you know, and so it was difficult for me because I'm like, I don't like this. And then I went into my, you know, place, and I was able to get in still, and I noticed that things were moved around in there and stuff, and I was like, okay, it is just trying to recover that. You know, and they only took, you know, and the thing had said, you know, the sheriff, you know, the custodian, it didn't say custodian, of course, but would, you know, put the property in storage or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they were in there. I noticed they were in there, and they took three things that I didn't really need. You know.
So
and then
they are talking there, so you need to ensure that you know that they're talking to you, not you.
Yes, well, I'm sure of it, you know, but it's still, you know, when it's, you know, your place, it was still a hard thing. Like I had it, but I had to go through my own, you know, stuff, you know.
Empress, for some reason, there was some distortion in what you were saying.
Oh, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, Empress.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's...
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me well now?
It's being a little still, but okay.
Let me try to move the location. Yeah, I was saying I just had to do my own spirit work around that. And so I was like, okay. You know, I leaned again, you know, and did a few more, you know, added all the units, because I hadn't done that part yet, to the lien and things like that. And then I went again this week, and they had posted a no trespassing on the door, and they had I couldn't get in with the key I had. And so, you know, I knew in my spirit, like, above the 33rd degree told me they're just protecting your place, you know, making sure that, you know, they said the persons living here have been, you know, evicted, and, you know, no trespassing. And so I was like, okay, they're protecting my place, but still I want to be able to get in, so I'm going to have to, think about what my next steps will be, And so but the thing is, I was able to get into the building, just not the unit, And then I was also, the funniest thing, I was able to open my mailbox, and the mailbox had a card from USPS, and it said new resident, and it said to write this address. And I was just smiling. I was just like, okay, they want me to reintroduce myself, and but it was like, it's tricky, I was like,
yeah.
you have to
You have to ensure that the fiduciary document stating that you are the fiduciary of your own person and not them, because that was the key to my demonstration, my POW demonstrations, is knowing that I'm the fiduciary for the person I created, not them.
Yes. So
and that they have been talking to they've been speaking to their person only, that they have not been speaking to your person.
Yes. Well, I sent them all of this. I had sent the management company and the Office of Sheriff. They have all of this, but I'm working on the
Okay. Let me make a suggestion, if I might. Two things. So the document that I was going to hold off on mentioning, and this always happens every time I say I'll wait another week before I mention that, so that I can go ahead and actually do the demonstration and then talk about the demonstration. The document that we all are going to need to issue once we have done title and all of the things that you've done with that demonstration, because you've already done the quo warranto and mandamus and all of that, those documents, and you've stated your person. The one document that we're going to be issuing as a final document for the building here, and we would encourage all other boards to issue it, would be an occupancy certificate from your state.
Okay, that's perfect. Because I actually took a picture of their occupancy, because they have an occupancy permit or whatever. Where was it? I took one of the times I went. Here it is. It says fire certificate of occupancy. Yeah, and so I have that. There. So that was something that I knew that we would. I'm glad that you were given that. And then. And so before I left my property, I noticed something that I hadn't noticed before. And there was a little sign in small letters that says, in accordance to Chapter 504.22 of the Minnesota State Statutes 8-1-74, the manager of the building in which you are living is Stonebridge Communities, whose offices are located at 2100 County Road 42 West, Burnsville, Minnesota 55337. Regardless of whether Stonebridge Communities is or is not the owner of the building, it is, as manager, an agent authorized by the owner to accept services of process and receive and give receipt for notices and demands. So I was like, okay, so it's the main thing. I had already leaned the management, but the main thing was to recreate like commands, regarding that and rebutting that piece right there.
Yep. Islam, don't forget to send them a resignation letter also, resigning them from their office of doing any fiduciary responsibilities. Yeah, that's important.
Yes, thank you for that. The only reason why I hadn't done that before was because I was concerned. I was like, well, the building still needs to be kept up, there's still other people living there and stuff like that. And so I'm like, I had a dream where I was told, like, you need to give commands, but I was like, what commands? Like, I wasn't really sure, now I'm for sure. But
Islam. Yeah, because when I issue resignation letters, I put a cover letter stating, the Constitution, that they are subjects already, this, that, and the third, and I state that per this resignation letter, you are now a subject ipso jure, right? I state that on a cover letter to the resignation letter, and I put them on notice with that. And I'm in my own way realizing that my affidavits and my resignation letters are being confirmed, because I had got a quickening of my spirit that I'm going to return back to where I was before I came to Manhattan. And so then another brother I had spoke to on the phone, he confirmed that also, and I just was laughing, saying, "Wow, Islam!" And I'm just walking by divine guidance at this point. I've always done that, but in the meantime, so yeah, things are really happening, and we are to govern, because this is our state.
Yes, we have to.
One more thing, Empress, check to see if you have the airport where you're at. I would chuckle really loud and be very surprised if you have a county airport where you domicile, because Empress Light does, and I do also. And Empress Light had mentioned to me that if you do, that means that the ancient ancestors did good business and business there, and because there's not an airport at every county. So if you have an airport, that means you're where you're domiciling is one of the ancient counties.
Well, I actually have the international airport is it's near the highway that goes into a freeway that goes into our international airport, and then there's an old train track that's no longer being used there. So I haven't checked about the county airports, but yeah, there definitely is movement there.
So yeah, the county airports, they were the transition airport between the ancient and the commercial. So, but yeah, the occupancy certificate or affidavit rather is going to be key, because that was what they were issuing. Even and I was going to reserve this for later, only because the quitclaim piece needed to be done first. But when it comes to the larger buildings and the gigantic domiciles and things like that, when you see domiciles that are 32 rooms and 45 bathrooms and 10, like the Biltmore and other domiciles like that we know were our domiciles. Whenever we were in those domiciles, living in those domiciles, because that's where we lived, and that's where we're going to be moving back to. And this includes, quote unquote, governor's mansions and things like that as well. The occupancy certificate is like the last thing, the occupancy affidavit. They call it a certificate of occupancy. We could call it a certificate for occupancy. And those, they didn't, especially with governor's mansions and things like that, they didn't have a mortgage or anything like that they were dealing with paperwork wise. It was occupancy that they were dealing with. Who is it that's supposed to be in there?
Islam. Did we issue an occupancy affidavit for our government?
No. We've not done that yet.
Okay, so I think I know I am.
Yeah. I would encourage all to do so. And if we need to issue an overarching one for the whole earth, we can do that. And some might say, well, we don't occupy the earth, it belongs to us. That's true. This is in rebuttal to, because see, this is the last part that where they were using that to hold on to, because as you know, possession is 9/10
yes
of the law. And so we need to speak to that part. And it was through those certificates of occupancy that they were even doing any of that, that they were even in those places. Many, many, many of the large 30,000 square foot domiciles and 10,000 and 12,000 square foot domiciles that we could be using to house more. The only way to get in them is a properly approved and executed occupancy certificate or affidavit. When you see those television shows and YouTube videos where they say, "Oh, this domicile is $100 million and this one is $87 million," you don't pay that. That's not what that is. That's fraud, actually. Those places are not for sale. They're not for sale. The only reason they were commercializing that is because nobody rebutted who should be occupying them. And the majority of them, particularly in places like the Hollywood Hills, or just think of any place in your territory that has the super large homes, and if you go into those places, those neighborhoods, and I'm not saying go into the homes without doing the documentation, I'm saying the neighborhoods. And when you go into those neighborhoods, you'll see that most of those places are not even occupied. Most of the people have already been either booted out or they left. And you know, when you start getting into the 8 and 9 figure domiciles and places, those places, you know, we even have to do occupancy affidavits for places like Yale and Harvard and Princeton and all of that. We have to do it for all of that to rebut the ones that they did. And that's after deeds and title and liens and all of that. They papered over everything, and we're having to rebut all that paper. But you know what? It's worth it. It is 1,000,000,000% worth it. Because, see, they already know we're doing this, and they're already starting to move out. So, you know, Islam nobility.
Yes, this is Izine. I wanted to just reflect on the quit claim deed. I was thinking, are you going to be doing that in two parts? First part, you're pulling the signature from the records for the quit claim deed. The second part, which would be the receipt, which I feel it would be better to issue it in two parts.
It will be. Yes, yeah, that's what I was stating. Yes. That's what I was stating.
Oh, yes, that'll be much better. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Thank you for thinking that through, Justice Izine. That is actually definitely our plan. Is we will first have them quit claim it to us, and they're actually going to quit claim it to Federal Way. They're not going to quit claim it to Pauline Ritchie or Light to Jerry Bay. They're going to quit claim it to Federal Way. Why? Because Federal Way takes care. You know how when you see the city taking care of the grass and all this and that and making sure that everything at the building stays, you know, in alignment, let the city take care of that tab. So the city is going to continue to do that. In fact, they just did some maintenance on the place the other day where they cut the grass, you know. In fact, you know, and so we're going to quit claim it to Federal Way. And we know we're not quit claiming it to the city of Federal Way because that's been liened and does not exist. We're doing it to Federal Way. And so Federal Way will continue to take care of the building because it's huge. It's 800,000 square feet.
Wow.
And, you know, we're going to need the space for our government commerce and also as a distribution center so that if Moors need food and things like that, they can come there and have food distributed to them as we make this transition so that they don't have to keep trying to contract or thinking about contracting during this time period.
Islam, As I'm taking notes, when you're speaking on quick claim to the state, I put quick claim title to the nation state and any state like Washington, New York, Arkansas, doesn't so, and also
the ones that you put the Constitution on the public record for.
Yeah.
Yes. And the county charters and city charters and all of that. Yeah.
Yes, and also the four-wall banks. I don't know why that just came to me, but the quick claim, those also, and also put the occupancy, what you just stated, what is it? Occupancy charter from the state.
Or an affidavit, yeah.
For the banks and everything in between. As well as putting on notice of the charters and the liens and this and so. Yeah, so we can occupy those and banks, and then because in translating the ancient English to the corporate English of the liens and putting them in blue, I read them, but putting it to the corporate English, I was like, in the collateral number for the one some say 19, it says the flag shall float, and so come on now. So when we put all of this and we bundle it all up together beautifully and issue the notices, like it's going to be by virtue that we're going to have our flags, we're going to occupy and do all these things.
Yeah. The ancestors knew even when they first gave us the lien process, they knew that they knew that what was going to come down the road. So that's why they gave us the language they gave us for everything. And it's been that way the whole time. That's how come we're not worried about anything, because they were guiding all of us this whole time. And when you look back at what was done when we first started demonstrating, there's no wrong way to be ourselves. There's no wrong way to demonstrate who we are and all of that, because they were guiding us. They knew we would get to this point.
Islam. Oh, one more thing, because my consort and another more, they had quote unquote packages returned after they had been delivered, and the system rejected the transit information and thus and so. And my consort, he had a packet of information to send to put on notice. The envelope got manipulated. They took the documents out and they sent the envelope back, returned to sender, and only left one document in the envelope, because I put it up to the light and saw one. So we had started doing research about fraud, mail fraud, and thus and so on and so forth. And I'm like, it went to where it was supposed to, because it said it was, but like they stole the documents out of the envelope. And I'm sorry, hold on, I gotta tell the heirs. Is want my back. And so so I was like, all we gotta do is upgrade any things that we see, like the statutes and codes concerning those things, and upgrade them to the laws of like no tampering and with official documents and this, because there's quite a few. I don't have them at my hands right now, but my consort, he has them, and he's started crafting documents, because I was like, they've done this not to just him but others around me, that they've taken the documents and then they rejected the package as if they never received it, but they received it. Yeah. They just stole documents. Oh, and then there was another more who went down to the Land of Flowers territory, and he the same thing. the ipso juror at the counter, took the documents, looked them over, and said, he doesn't necessarily understand all the processes that we do. But so he took the documents and he handed to them. She looked them over, made copies, but kept certain documents and said that they're not missing, but copied another copy of another document and put it in the place of the other one that she stole, and gave it back to him, and he didn't realize till he got all the way back to the land of Nod and realized what had taken place. And I'm just like, these persons,
Okay.
they're something else.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But we win, and we know what we got to do, and it will be done, and will be handled. And
Islam. Rose Spirit Bay from Minnesota. I just want sending you some humor from the ancestors. So your Range Rover is coming, Empress, because I went online real quick and somebody had a post of a white Range Rover.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, I know a lot of people will think I'm showing off, but you work hard all your life. You deserve to treat yourself. I can't express the happiness I'm feeling right now. White was the only color they had, but it doesn't matter. I've just purchased these 4 lawn chairs, and I can't wait for summer. Well, so I was like, oh, my God, that's Empress's white Range Rover that wants to communicate with her.
Yeah.
Let her know that he or she is on the way. So come in. The ancestors wanted to let you know, because I was like, oh my gosh, because I get synchronicities from time to time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these our people, our guides, our ancestors just have a sense of humor. So that's awesome.
You know what? We're not even like we know we got this already. We also know that we're being sharpened on our processes because we're the bank, and we're going to be doing these processes with other Moors, making sure that they get their conveyances also. So we have to know the process. So I know it's coming. I'm just glad that the ancestors are showing us what they're showing us, because we can see that everything is available to us. Everything is available to us. It's just a matter of the processes. I'm excited. I'm not even really a truck empress, but I thought, okay. And then when I went back up there, miraculously they had the ones that I liked. Finally, they had put them back out, back out there. I'm more of like an S550 empress. Or they have one called the Emperor. It's a Mercedes special order type situation, and it's called the Emperor, and that's more my speed. But I like the white truck. It was there, it was white, and it had the word land in it, so I was like, you know what, that one.
Islam.
Yeah.
I have a quick question concerning the quick claim and the occupancy. Are we to put it on the letterhead coming from Morocco, or like to do with the ones with the resignation letters, put the state letterhead on there?
So for those, okay, so this is what we're doing. When we create it so that the subjects quit claim it to us, it's going to be on regular quit claim, their letterhead.
Okay.
It's going to be on their letterhead with their signature at the bottom. Quit claiming it to us, to Federal Way. And then when we accept the quit claim, we're going to be the fiduciaries because we're Federal Way. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to do the receipt for that quit claim.
Yes.
And that's going to be on Federal Way letterhead. See, what we've done is we said who we were on the public record, first in red, then in blue. Then we did court actions stating that we're the real Federal Way and we're the real Washington. We notified everybody of that, so they all are aware. The subjects know we're here. And we've been tested in the area of who's who and what's what, and we proved who we were. So now we're just saying, as the fiduciaries for everything that has to do with the land, we're just saying, okay, we're Federal Way, but we can also, as fiduciaries, take control of the building by quit claiming it, because the ones that were claiming it were bankrupt too. So we're being the fiduciary there as well. That's why we can do their letterhead and their signature. And it's not theirs, it's ours. That stuff belongs to us. As fiduciaries, we have a responsibility to make sure that the paperwork, that there's continuity of government of the property, because that's really what this whole transition is continuity of government. Not that they were the government, but that we continue. Islam.
So with the the letterhead from the true Federal Way, it's gonna have the flag, right, of Morocco and the no?
Mm-mm.
Just Federal Way.
It's gonna be Federal Way letterhead.
Okay.
See, whenever we do liens with our affidavits on the corpses that were claiming to be Federal Way and any other. They were claiming to be that, but they were bankrupt, so they can't be that. We have to be that. So when we lien them, we do the heavy judiciary things with our affidavits, and then as we're moving things around, we use the inferior letterheads to move things around as well at our command.
It's very good. Gratitude.
And there is no letterhead out there. There is no letterhead out there that we cannot create, and no signatures that we cannot use out there when it comes to subjects who were claiming to be whatever they were claiming to be, because they were all bankrupt. They were never CEOs of anything or anything like that. We've always been the CEOs. That's why they kept throwing people in jail to get their autographs.
Oh, that's facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
So,
Islam.
Yes.
The quick claim deed can be a generic copy from the subject.
It can be.
To you. Yes, to the Federal Way. Yes.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that anyone holding a mortgage or deed, a mortgage or a trustee, those are basically putting those persons in an indentured servitude position. Now, they use titles to steal your property. And titles didn't come into effect until after June 5th, 1933, when the so-called president at the time, Roosevelt, called all the governors from all the states, so-called states, into the White House and said, gentlemen, we have to do something that is grossly unlawful. And that is, we're going to have to collateralize the debt with the persons in every so-called state. And that basically used the newborn, children, all future revenue to be gained by subjects, the sleeping Moors, were used as collateral for the debt, for the United States debt corporation, United States corporation debt. Basically, the Queen had, prior to her death, was holding the note on the United States corporation. So, therefore, that contract with the Queen was so stated that the interest had to be paid in gold. So that's why you don't have any gold in Fort Knox as of today, because they tapped out. They had no more gold to honor that contract with the Queen.
They actually never paid it.
No, exactly. Never paid. Couldn't pay it.
All gold is still where it's been. They never paid anything because they didn't have. Corporations can't use gold. So that is gold that is owed to us. And it's really not even owed to us. It's ours already. That's the issue, is proper claiming of that which is already ours. We couldn't even, that's what I'm saying. We can't even ask them for gold because they don't have any. They were acting as corpses the whole time.
But keep in mind that prior to 1933, all the so-called citizens and sleeping Moors had gold in their possession, because during those times, that's how people did their exchanges, with gold certificates, etc., along with the gold bullions. But at the same time, he made it unlawful for anyone to have it in their possession.
Not
but
anyone.
They were doing.
Not anyone. Not anyone.
Basically, the subjects and the and the sleeping Moors. Exactly.
Right. They were just like today. They were not talking to the Moors back then about any gold and telling Moors what to do with gold. They weren't talking to the Moors. Just like today, they're not talking to us.
Correct.
So we might as well, but that's a great point, Justice Izine, because, prior to 1933, most of the gold that even the citizens had was sitting in a bank vault somewhere, and they were using, like you said, certificates to pass things around and do things. They weren't carrying gold on their person. So then when their quote-unquote president confiscated the gold in 1933, all they did was tell the banks, don't give it back to them, like they're doing with the fiat today.
Islam Empress, talk about the video you sent me about the ipso juror wanting to go to Bank of America to withdraw $9,400 notes, and they almost said no to him because it's like, can you figure out how to withdraw it some any other kind of way? Is this for payroll and this and that? Because they didn't want to release the notes that have already been called in the debt, and for them to take out that, to give that man that money would be, distributing more debt. So they sat there for as long as they could to dissuade the man from taking out the notes, the Federal Reserve notes. And he was getting upset, like, why are you trying to deny me my money? But then at the end, he said that he realizes that there are things that are happening around us in this world as far as like the money and so on and so forth. There's a lot of changes. He did admit that part, but he was still ignorant to the part that he's toting around debt, and to the real reasons why they didn't want to give him what he was asking for. And also when he had said that he had to go speak to the vault manager, and he was like, he found that perplexing because she was the one who was overseeing all the debt in that vault. And because she was ultimately responsible for keeping as much in there as she could. Because she knew she had the command.
They're actually turning it in and destroying it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're doing the same thing we did, Once we do something, wildfire, they're turning in the fiat and destroying it.
That's why I feel as though he was stating that she was asking him, is there any other way we can give you this that you're asking? Can we give you a teller's check, a cashier's check? Can you do it in a transaction via wire? Any which way other than to take out those debt notes. And he was like, no. Give me my fiat. And because he was like, I need it for this, and that, and so on and so forth. But I was just sitting there listening to his fork tongue and his verbiage of how he was giving his details of his situation, and I was like, "Yo, it's happening? It's real. Like this is very real." What is going on?
The quote unquote banks are actually doing court actions on the people when they come in there.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing court actions. They ask them 3 questions. What do you need it for? Why do you need so much? And are you and are you going to be safe with that much in your possession?
Oh, that's what he did say, yes. And he was like, why does it matter to you? And he was like, if I go outside this door, it's no longer your concern. But it wasn't to the point of physical harm. It was to the point, man, listen, that is so much spirituality in that question. Are you going to be safe?
Yeah.
Safe. Like safe in your person and knowing that you are not subjecting yourself to something that you aren't aware of. Safe.
Yeah.
In the spiritual sense, and then safe like we're taking it out of our safe. Are you putting it into another safe type thing too?
Yeah, and also, and thirdly, when they say, "Are you going to be safe with that much on your person?" They're actually taking control and jurisdiction over the person.
True.
In other words, it don't matter where he goes when he leave outside that door. They still, and this has been the issue with fiat, they still have jurisdiction over you if you using that stuff. That's been the problem. Okay, and I'm talking about citizens now. Where Moors are concerned, that's why we had to get rid of it. Because that is their military script.
It sure is.
And that dude passing that stuff, that the ones passing that stuff around, the ones passing it are acting as agents of the military.
Mm-hmm.
Islam. And also acting as agent of our Internal Revenue Service as well.
Islam. And saved. Yes. Look at the definition Empress Sasha put in the chat. She said it says safe as an adjective, circa 1300, and it was actually spelled in 1300 SAUF. It means unscathed, unhurt, uninjured, free from danger or molestation, in safety, secure, saved, spiritually, redeemed, not damned.
Dear God, and I never heard that definition. I said what I said before that even came, and I see, listen here, when you are divine, you just say what it is you know you're supposed to, honey.
Yep.
Islam.
She was essentially asking him, is he saved?
Yeah, that part.
Is he redeemed? Is he not damned? And damn is actually a water or a sea term.
There goes maritime law.
There it is. That's the law of the sea. Islam nobility.
Another agent we don't really take in consideration is the so-called courts, judges. They are also Internal Revenue agents.
Yes, they are tax collectors.
That's all they are.
Listen. Let me just let you in on this little secret, and we said this previously, but we'll say it again. Anybody that's charging you fiat for anything is a tax collector. Here at well, let me not say here because that wasn't here. That was in the United States Corporation Company, but in the quote unquote City of Federal Way previously, in one of their quote unquote city council meetings, one of their quote-unquote attorneys had the audacity to get up and say that even the people that operate the hotels and things are tax collectors. And the businesses, the small businesses, every one of them is a tax collector. The grocery store clerk and all of them, they're tax collectors. To me, that's like
Islam. You know, honestly, remember I had stated last call that inclement weather and snow is a debt, it's a tax? Because I've meditated on that further, because I've slipped and fallen on ice before. And, you know, the things you'd have to go out and quote-unquote buy to make yourself safe in that weather is opposite of what you don't need in sunny, weather of 90 degrees and hot and all this beautiful weather. You don't need to worry about falling on ice and snow and digging out yourself of 6-foot snow banks and all these other different things. And then, you can't grow anything in like blizzard weather. And so that's further to the fact that snow and all this stuff is a debt. And then not to mention on either pole, either side of the earth, is underneath the ice caps is ancient pyramids, right? So that is further to state that all of this snow and ice and glaciers and all these different things, take your debt back. It's been called back. I'm putting it on the record. Angel Bay is stating that for the record.
Islam, Empress. Listen, it was 80 degrees here today, and that is supposedly unusual, but not for ancient Morocco. It's not. Ancient Morocco has, tropical weather. So we're just gonna continue on demonstrating to keep it that way. Islam nobility.
Well, in the past and still going on in certain places where a lot of the Moors are being pulled into court, but very
to where?
To the point where pulled into the court, the so-called court system.
Okay, thank you. The so-called.
Yeah. But we actually can shut them down, whereby you don't even have to show up, period, at all. Basically, the way it works is where you can shut the judge down by issuing a complaint, which is called, the so-called judge, where you can issue a declaratory judgment complaint. Basically, that's under 28, Section 2014. And
in other words, see that you're describing is actually a citizen version of an actual court action, like the ones we do. Yes. We don't go to their fake courts. We do a court action on them, and then we state and we notify them that this court action has been done. And we do that before the date that they say.
I agree. But unfortunately, a lot of the Moors have been going to court to try to challenge their issues. And they didn't have to do that. By shutting the judge down prior to, they don't even have to show up. I'm just saying prior to us doing the Article 3 court. See, they was going in prior to the Article 3. But I'm saying if they had done this particular process, then they just basically show up at the so-called clerk of court, leave the document.
There it is.
So-called court dismissed.
There it is. We and Justice Azim, that's good information right there. What we have done, and I'll say this, Justice Azim, I can appreciate the information that you bring because different people are at different places on the timeline, and some need to hear that you just quoted. What was that you just quoted that says that they can do that, a declaratory, etc.?
Yes, it's a declaratory judgment complaint. Basically, that falls under for the subject, say for the sleeping Moors, they can refer to 28.21.4, and they can briefly look at that.
Yeah.
I think what they're doing is removing that so-called judge from the bench, because what he's doing is acting. Let me say this: he is a member of the so-called bar association, and to be on that bench, he will have to have membership, which he's carrying a membership card from the bar, the so-called bar. Now, that is a conflict of interest because the prosecuting so-called attorney is filing claim against the defendant, which may be situation, say the Moor, he's the defendant. Mm-hmm. The prosecuting so-called attorney is filing a claim against him, and they both are in cahoots with each other because the so-called judge and the prosecuting attorney both are lawyers. And that's a conflict of interest for the so-called judge, because the only way he could be on that bench in the United States corporation system is to have a bar card. And he, on top of that, he took an oath of office, which most of them do not file. It's very difficult to find most so-called judges' oath of office on file, and they do that purposely.
Islam. That's good information for the Moors who are at that point on the timeline. That is great information because some of them are, some Moors are somewhat hesitant not to appear because they've been traumatized or afraid to do so from the past, et cetera, et cetera. And then that same process, when it's elevated to the status of our Article 3 court, where Article 3 courts are concerned, we've gotten to the point where even if they set a quote-unquote supposed court date, what we do is we send out a court date that looks the same. So let's say if they say, oh, you have a court, and this is for any Moors out there, if they say that they're talking to their corpse now, their corpse has a court date on October the 5th at 2 p.m. Room C, such and such courthouse. Then what we would do is we would send them on Moorish government letterhead an Article 3 affidavit to appear in our court, and we put it for October the 5th at 2 p.m., Room C, courthouse so-and-so. And then it's our court then. And that's for those who want to go in and challenge the jurisdiction, okay? We prefer not to go at all, so we just send a court action from our highest court, and that's where the 13 great writs come in at. The quo warranto, the mandamus, and the restitutio are the three writs that, number one, the quo warranto challenges jurisdiction. The mandamus says you never had jurisdiction in the first place. We know you don't, so we're not coming there. In fact, you are subject to us. And then number three, the restitutio says, and for pretending to be a court and pretending to create a corpse, this is what the remedy will be. And then we just effectuate the remedy. So, that's what we have done with regard to anything that had to do with us. We made sure that we let them know that Pauline Denise Ritchie and Pauline Denise Ritchie Moore and any of that, we're the fiduciary for that in capitis deminutio, maxima, media, and minima, that is state property and that they are not the state. We are the state, and that's our property. Period. And that we are the state that has jurisdiction. We're the court of original jurisdiction, and our court has already spoken with regard to our property. So they are to butt out. And butt out just means when you look at the 13 great writs, it will tell you that any inferior court does not have jurisdiction and that they are to cease all action with regard to that when we properly state who we are. And we have perfected that process, by the way. So with the perfection of that process, and we've shown you how we perfected that process along the way. And, I will express gratitude once again for the Moors on this call who actually did a trial by jury on my property, which is Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis deminutio maxima, and pronounced her not guilty. And we sent that on over as well and said, hey, our courts have spoken. on multiple occasions with regard to the court actions that we've done and the things that transpired. Our court spoke, and it was all acknowledged. It's all been acknowledged. So even the things that they were attempting to do with their courts, they did away with that too. Islam.
I've just been asked about documents have to be in blue. I said it was the Commerce documents, but I'm double checking to confirm that is correct.
So all of the 6 documents, but specifically the fiduciary document, they are done first in red, then in blue. And the reason we do them in red first is as above, so below. When we speak in red, we are the Savior, and we know we are. And then when we speak in blue, we're the Savior doing commerce or admiralty.
So the same document, same document we've done in the red, we just have to do it in the blue now.
Yes, at least the first 6, and specifically the fiduciary document. Do it in blue. Yeah. So right now we are existing in multidimensional, as we know we have been and we can be, and that existence in it's specifically the 3 dimensions, but it's actually more than 3 dimensions. The red documents is in the heavenly realm. So whenever those that were previously doing business as popes would write things, and the queen would write things, they would write it in red. And the one, the custodian, the former custodian previously doing business, or previously in the office of queen, had a red box where red lettering would come in, and they would write in red to deal with things. Okay, so red is the high realm for us. And they were just simply custodians in our offices previously. And then the blue realm is the former custodians previously in the office of courts, judges, any type of merchant or mercantile or maritime actions is blue. And then we're in that 3rd dimension where we are fiduciaries. Just one moment. There's a little bit of feedback coming from somewhere. Okay, I got it. Just one moment. Just one moment. For some reason, it's not moving. Justice Izine. Uh-oh.
No, this is Izine. I have no noise in the background.
Yeah, it's coming up on. Okay, never mind then. It's coming up on the sound meter, but I got it. There was something going on with my thing. Okay. Also, in that 3rd realm, in the 3rd realm is where we're using doing our fiduciary duties with the letterheads and things like that. That's an even lower realm. The CEO realm is like the lower realm. You know, mayors and CEOs and people, you know, those offices are the lower realms. And so we're existing in all 3 realms at once, you know. Yeah, so that's what the different colors of the lettering are all about. And even when we're in the lower realms, we could use black ink with the letterhead and things like that, but I prefer to use blue because blue who is also, because they're doing admiralty law, or they were previously pretending to do admiralty law in that room. You know, so we're multidimensional already. We're already and at any time we can be in any of those realms. At any time we can operate however we choose, whatever is best for the empire, whatever is best for the state, whatever is best for the heirs. That's what we do. And that's how we know, you know, that's where we get the confidence in terms of our demonstrations is, you know, just keep looking at the demonstrations and see what else we can do. Okay, we do this and we do that. Well, what we may need to do too is an occupancy certificate or quit claim, you know, for the banks and the dealerships and the realty companies and, you know, the Capitol buildings and all of that. You know, we're just going to keep looking at the processes and continue to move in the manner that the ancestors have led us to move in, because we see we're having great success in all that we do with regard to our demonstrations. And so, and then we just keep looking at them and see, okay, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Let's add this to it. Let's add that to it, you know, so that we continue building that bridge. I will say this too, heirs. I know that right now where we are hovering above the chaos and the noise and the, you know, the flooding and all of the craziness. We're hovering above all of that. The ancestors promised us that you know, zeppelins and apparatus would take us above the issues when they came. You may have heard the Prophet Noble Drew Ali use the term zeppelins and apparatus. We create those zeppelins and apparatus through our documentation that takes us above the chaos and the confusion and the quote unquote food insecurity and all of that. We're above that, and we got to stay above it with our documentation and our paperwork. And if that statement is not sitting well with you, keep looking at the energies, keep looking at your demonstrations, but the energies more so, because it's through the energies that we're able to see. You know, our energies help us to see that we don't have anything to worry about. We've been here for trillions and trillions of years. Do you really think that an empty store shelf is going to get rid of the Moors? No. No. Nothing will get rid of us because we're here. We've been here. We're going to be here. Period.
Islam,
Empress.
hello, Islam. Hi, this is Rosalind from Khalifa territory. And so I had a question about the Banking Act. And
Which
I was
one?
thinking the Emergency Banking Act. I think both of them. Because it was commanding people not to use gold and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I was wondering if we should do a removal of that, because I was thinking of sending that to the bank as well as my demonstration, just so they could be prompted that they don't, you know, what I'm doing won't be conflicting with that, because we're not worried about that anymore. So yeah, that was my question. Should we do that?
So the banking law is different from the Banking Act. That's why we changed it from act to law. And when we speak about the law, remember Article 6 of the Constitution, all laws made by the state to the contrary of this Constitution and its treaties is notwithstanding. So the wording and the language of the banking law says only gold and silver.
Yes. Okay.
So
I could
when
just
you say banking law, you can keep it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I had a comment.
Comment.
There was somebody on Facebook saying in my territory, it was they posted it last year. They are a homeless committee, and they were asking East Bay Mud to help them with water. And so because they they will bring out, they're supposed to bring out water to the homeless camps or something like that. So I said, well, I need to govern that because we have plenty of water. And so if any custodian is concerned that they're going to have everybody, without water, we got plenty of water. So, them trying to figure out if they should give water to the homeless camp, that just sounds ridiculous to me. Especially if you go to the fire hydrant and take the cap off, you got water for days.
And most of the homeless camps know that already, by the way.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But they're trying to pick their battles because if they did something like that, they would be forced to move at an earlier convenience as soon as they touch it.
Mm-hmm.
And also I seen something. It was a Indian from the other side. I forgot where she was at, but she was a council or official or something like that, and she said that the Himalaya they did this interview with her like in 2021 as well, and she said the experts are concerned about the Himalayas melting and flooding all the places. So, but here's the thing. If you stop playing around like you can't give people water, you're going to have that problem, because that water's going to come.
Yeah.
So yes, I just wanted to put that out there because I just thought that the things that they try to hinder us from, like you said, the food and all that kind of stuff, there's no problem. There's no problem. And if it has to overtake them like a tsunami, it just, but that's from them trying to pretend like there's a lack. There's no lack.
There's no lack. None in our nation. And here's the thing about that. I believe that flooding and stuff that we're seeing I believe it's a United States corporation company thing. Because anything that's being seen with regard to that, when everything is removed, what we see left and standing is that which will be. All the temporary stuff is not doing so well, but that which stands will stand. Absolutely. And a lot of that has to do with the things that we meant for it to stand. Mud floods are nothing new. Look it up. Mud floods are nothing new. And we the things that are going on right now are a direct response to this transition. Everything that's going on is a direct response to this transition. So, energies, and please do not contract with them. Let them go their way, because that's what's happening right now. Is all of those fake contracts and weird craziness and unlawful occupation, all of that stuff is leaving. It's here. You're watching it leave the land. So let's just let that happen. We don't have to worry about them. They're going to be fine because they knew all of this was happening, and they didn't worry about the ancestors either when it was the other way around and we were going to sleep and our cities were being flooded and things like that, because they knew we were still going to be here. We were still going to be okay, and all of that, So some may think that's a little bit harsh and unfeeling, but it's really not. It's an act of love for us to stand this nation up and let this nation be our focus. Because through this nation, the whole earth will be saved, and the whole earth will be fed, and the whole earth will be well and peaceful. So these are our acts of love that we're doing. Everything that we're doing is an act of love. Our ancestors did what they did, and can you imagine how they must have felt if the stories were true, that there were only 8 families, 8 clans left after the initial great flood, quote unquote? Only 8, and they were all us. They were all us. And then we just began to get the clans coming together, and we repopulated. That's why the bloodline and birthright is so strong. So with that, I yield the floor at this time, and we will adjourn and meet back again on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Islam.
Grand Rising.
Peace and grand rising.
Grand Rising.
You're the one that's supposed to run them up. The minute you know your power, then why you step out of it?
Islam, Virginia Curry.
Grand rising.
Grand Rising.
Grand rising.